week's Parshas VaYechi, and the name of the parsha represents the central theme of the Torah portion. And curiously, the central theme of the name of the parsha is Parshas VaYechi, except it seems, and that would represent life, and he lived, meaning to say, and Yaakov lived, Jacob, our forefather, lived in Mitzrayim. Yet the main content of the parsha appears to be about the passing of Jacob, and then later on the passing of Joseph, his son, as time progressed. So why is it that it's so relevant to call it Vayechi? It should call it by some other name, maybe the days of Jacob or so forth. Why does it emphasize the concept of being alive? And the reality is because Jacob, there's an expression that Jacob never died. And how is it possible that Jacob never died? Because the fact that his children are alive, the fact that his children are continuing in the world, they are his life. He continues to live. Just like his children are alive, so too he is alive. And what this tells us is that the real central theme is the life force of Jacob and his children, his offspring, that are the Jewish people, continuing to this very day. And we also could learn from this the concept of the relevance, not just the relevance, but the essentialness of the having of offspring as the representation of a person's true life. Meaning to say, if a person is not fortunate enough to bring offspring into the world, then their life is merely a fleeting shadow. It's by bringing offspring into the world that a person then lives eternally. And how much more so is their life force increased when their children and their offspring are involved in good actions and good deeds and doing Torah mitzvahs, both those that apply to the Jews and to the non-Jews. So today's news that, as it says over here, that the FDA is now permanently allowing abortion pills by mail is an example of the exact opposite of what the Torah is teaching. The Torah is teaching us that the bringing of offspring into the world is the highest form of human activity. This is life itself. Life itself is bringing children into the world. It's not through our intellectual accomplishments, and it's not through our, in fact, it says even Torah study, the greatness of Torah study is from the fact that we are bringing it into action. And the ultimate action is the very first commandment in the Torah, to bring children into the world, to be fruitful and multiply. And even the final commandment in the Torah, which is to write the Sefer Torah itself, is itself a fulfillment of continuing the generations and bringing children into the world, because they're the ones that are going to use that Torah. We are writing the Torah. We are writing it not only into the clef, we're writing it into the hearts of the people, that they should be able to continue and to increase through all the generations. So we have to realize that the lessons of the Torah have always been the instructions to all mankind. And as we see civilization literally falling apart in front of us, where government is authorizing and permitting the mass distribution of pills to murder children at just willy-nilly, at will, is a sign of the total collapse of the moral fabric of the civilization. And even though the bridges and the roads are functional, but the actual living life force is on its way down. And as someone said earlier this week, that the greatest threat to civilization is that people are not having enough children. By not having children, civilization will collapse. So it's actually a twofold collapse. First comes the moral collapse that allows a person to consider it normal to murder a child. And then from the effect of that, murder becomes something that is now commonplace and acceptable, God forbid. And then the civilization collapses. There's not enough labor. There's not enough people to be productive. And there's a general moral and a physical collapse of civilization. So there is hope, however, and that's the Torah. The Torah is coming to tell us, Vayechi Yaakov, that the life force of a righteous person is in his offspring, and he continues to live through his offspring. And our job is to turn around the direction of the people in this world by lovingly showing them their value, that they are valuable enough that they deserve to be replicated. They deserve to live forever. And through that message and through that encouragement, we will actually turn around the entire world until chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek, that the world will be strengthened, that the people in the world will be strengthened, that they'll take strength in knowing that God is with them, and that God is lovingly giving them the opportunity to increase humanity, to increase the size of the population with more and more good human beings that will actually all be serving God Almighty. And that is the real goal of the Torah, and the real goal that Yaakov Avinu, Jacob our father, put his life and soul into educating his children and to raising them up to follow in his footsteps and the footsteps of his fathers, whether they should then be a light into the nations, to then carry the light, as it says at the end of chapter 36 of Tanya, that the light will be so strong that it'll pierce into the darkness of the nations. And we should merit, in the merit of this week's Torah reading, to see this fulfilled literally before our eyes, as the world population will increase and everyone will rejoicingly serve God Almighty, and the Holy Temple in Jerusalem will be a house of prayer for all the nations. May we see that now with our righteous Redeemer, Mashiach Tzidkenu. A good Shabbos, and have a great, great week.
Now, just a moment before we are done. You are here because you are like me, not satisfied with the condition of the world and the Jewish people, objecting to the direction that confused people are running in, and intent on seeing God Almighty's vision for the world fulfilled. Torah is a manual for action, and we are taking action. At rabbismith.org, we have one goal: to connect every man, woman, and child with God Almighty. This is the only way forward, and that includes you. rabbismith.org has 2 tracks, one for non-Jews and one for Jews. My job is to help point you to the truth, that not only is the divine spark in you bursting out, but you have loving responsibility to those around you, and they will thrive from your clarity and your orientation. Now, join at rabbismith.org. We have new initiatives starting. We have just started a weekly class, Amunah, Faith in Action, to shepherd our faith and learn how to shepherd the faith of those around us. Videos, audios, materials, and newsletters. But most importantly, a relationship. The relationship of one person wanting the best for another and taking action to make that happen. At rabbismith.org, I will be asking you to make a personal undertaking to share what you learned with others and to spread the message of hope to every person, and to make a small daily contribution to support our joint vision and mission. Join us as we get the world on track for Mashiach, for redemption, and make it unfold. Enroll at rabbismith.org, and I will see you there.